On this Wednesday night, Pipeline Dreams, Alberta's goal to get oil to BC's coast.
This is truly a nation-building kind of a project.
The pushback from BC's premier and why some experts believe it'll never get built. A powerful earthquake rattles the Philippines. The panic, damage, and fears of aftershocks. Actor acrimony.
Let's get to know each other.
The AI-generated character generating plenty of controversy. Plus, remembering Jane Goodall.
But my dream began when I was 10.
How the beloved primatologist revolutionized science and the way we understand nature.
Global National with Donna Friesen. Reporting tonight, Nitu Garcha.
Good evening and thanks for joining us. The Alberta government has announced a plan it hopes will get more of its oil to the BC coast. It's leading a push for a new pipeline, but with no private company willing to take on the risk, the province says it will hire its own team to come up with a plan. But as Heather Yourex-West reports, even with this step, a new pipeline remains a distant and uncertain prospect.
The bitumen pipeline that no one wants to build is getting an Alberta government boost.
And that's why we are announcing that the government of Alberta will be the proponent of an oil pipeline to the northwest BC coast, with the support and technical advice of 3 major pipeline companies.
But South Bow, Enbridge and Trans Mountain are only signing on as technical advisors for the province as it begins the application process for what it hopes will eventually be a bitumen pipeline from Alberta to the BC coast.
The challenge that I have is that this proposal from the Alberta Premier for taxpayers to do this work comes at the expense of real private sector projects that are going to lift our economy and lift the national economy, and for no apparent reason.
The Alberta government says it has no plans to build a pipeline, only to create conditions so a private company will want to. This isn't the first time taxpayer dollars have been used in a bid to expand market access for Canadian crude. The federal government purchased the Trans Mountain Pipeline expansion project in 2018 after Kinder Morgan walked away at an eventual cost of $34.2 billion. And while that pipeline is now operating, the Alberta government lost $1.3 billion in aid of the Keystone XL pipeline, which was axed by the Biden administration in 2021. Alberta also lost $2.1 billion after the Rachel Notley government purchased crude by rail contracts that were later sold by the Jason Kenney government at a loss. Industry expert Richard Masson says even with Alberta's help, it's unlikely this pipeline will ever be built.
The business fundamentals mean that there's not a lot of new oil production coming, which makes it harder for companies to commit barrels. Unless companies are willing to, commit to capacity on the pipeline, midstream companies like Enbridge or South Bow won't be willing to build it.
The initial cost to Alberta taxpayers for this application is $14 million, with the expectation it will be ready to send to the federal government's new Major Projects Office by the spring. Nitu?
All right, Heather Yourex-West in Calgary. Thanks, Heather. The federal government has hinted it is open to approving new pipeline projects, but it says there are a lot of factors to consider.
For a project like that to come to reality, you'd have to make sure that there is social acceptance. Certainly, if it's going to BC, obviously, the British government, the people of British Columbia, Indigenous nations would have to agree with that.
Prime Minister Mark Carney has said the government's next wave of major projects would be announced by mid-November. Ontario Premier Doug Ford met with Michigan Governor Gretchen Whitmer today. They discussed the impact of the U.S. trade war, particularly on the auto sector. President Donald Trump is also slapping tariffs on other goods, including lumber. Canada is America's biggest softwood lumber supplier, and as Mackenzie Gray reports, there's no sidestepping the impact.
Well, Governor, it looks like we have a full house.
Well wishes from the Governor of Michigan.
We are virtually cousins. Michiganders love Canadians. Americans do as well.
Gretchen Whitmer in Toronto to meet with the Ontario Premier.
The Governor is not shy to make sure that she holds President Trump's feet to the fire.
But a part of Donald Trump's message from the start has been trying to send Canadian jobs back to Whitmer's state.
We don't need their cars. They make 20% of our cars. We don't need that. I'd rather make them in Detroit.
Trying to force more businesses to build in the U.S. as central theme of why Trump keeps slapping more tariffs on different goods. The latest set to come into place on October 14th. A 25% tariff on cabinets and furniture and a 10% tariff on lumber. That's on top of the other levies that already total 35% on Canadian softwood.
Having 45%, effectively tax on your exports to the U.S. Is a significant burden.
A key difference with these tariffs, there's no carve-out for Canadian free trade goods.
That's a huge problem.
Despite the U.S. ambassador having complained extensively when Canada previously tariffed goods covered under CUSMA.
We haven't done that, but Canada has decided that, that's fair game. We will, call into question CUSMA.
After meeting with the president last week in New York, Mark Carney tight-lipped on what a Canadian response could be.
Will Canada match the new U.S. tariffs coming into effect today?
It's a broad range of issues we're discussing.
Carney has had a significant shift to his elbows-up campaign pledge, including dropping counter tariffs and the digital services tax, the wrong approach for the Conservatives.
While Mark Carney breaks his promise, puts his elbows down, and gets trampled on by foreign leaders, our workers lose their jobs.
Trump has also threatened 100% tariffs on movies made outside the U.S., a significant industry in Canada, but he hasn't explained how that tariff would work, Neetu, since a movie isn't a physical good like the other things that Trump has levied.
Okay, Mackenzie Gray in Ottawa. Thanks, Mackenzie. Residents in 5 Canadian provinces could see a boost in their pay today. The minimum wage went up in Ontario, Manitoba, Saskatchewan, Nova Scotia, and PEI. Alberta is the only province that has not boosted its minimum wage this year. Its $15 per hour rate is now the lowest in Canada. The search for a 6-year-old boy missing in mountainous terrain in southern Alberta has been called off. Darius McDougall was last seen near a campground in the Crow's Nest Pass area on September 21st. RCMP say an extensive search has not turned up any trace of the boy, and if he is still in the area, he's believed to be dead. Investigators say they will continue to follow up on tips and other leads. The Nova Scotia government is extending its wildfire season to October 31st. The Minister of Natural Resources says they've never seen fire activity so late in the season. The Lake George wildfire is burning out of control at an estimated 290 hectares. Mandatory evacuations are being expanded, and an air quality statement is in effect. The federal government has rejected a request from Ontario's Marineland to export its last 30 beluga whales to China. They are the final captive whales in Canada. Fisheries Minister Joanne Thompson says approving the move would have meant a return to entertainment shows, which have been illegal in Canada since 2019. Marineland, where 20 whales have died in recent years, remains closed and near bankruptcy. Animal advocates want the whales moved to a sanctuary. At least 69 people have been killed and dozens injured after a magnitude 6.9 earthquake struck the central Philippines. The violent shaking was captured on camera. These motorcyclists were forced to pull over on a bridge and hold on. The province of Cebu, which suffered the brunt of the damage, declared what the country calls a state of calamity today after thousands were forced to spend the night on the streets during repeated aftershocks. Vincent McAviney reports.
Just before 10 o'clock Tuesday night, the earthquake struck this island archipelago close to the surface, heightening its power. Filipinos dining out, initially uncertain how serious it was, quickly sought shelter in panic as structures began shaking and collapsing around them. The quake's magnitude of 6.9, leaving tens of thousands in 8 cities without power.
Lord, may save lang ka na, Lord.
In this collapsed shopping centre, survivors in this deeply Catholic country prayed for deliverance as aftershocks rattled them. Come dawn, the scale of the damage was evident, with whole buildings collapsed. Emergency crews began search operations by hand. No one knows how many are trapped under the rubble. Survivors are in shock. We're still anxious because of the aftershocks. We've lost count of them, and I haven't managed to get any rest yet. We were afraid. We thought we would have died by today, but we're thankful that we're all safe. I'm thankful to the Lord. This Coast Guard ship in Manila was loaded up with doctors, nurses and medical supplies and is headed about 700 kilometers south to the affected region.
Prepared kami sa mga equipment.
We are prepared and we have the equipment needed for these kinds of emergencies. Our people are equipped with the training that's required. At hospitals, morgues are overflowing and buildings are still at risk from aftershocks. so the dead have been laid out in the open air so that relatives can identify them. Emergency crews are carefully sifting through as they wait for heavy equipment to arrive. Damage to roads and bridges is making it harder to reach those in remote areas. The quake comes barely more than a week after the country was hit by back-to-back typhoons, which killed more than 20 people. Its size means aftershocks could carry on for months, hampering recovery efforts. Vincent McAviney, Global News, London.
In New York, a massive brick chimney running 20 stories up the side of an apartment building collapsed today after an explosion. First responders and a dog team searched the rubble before determining that no one was hurt. The chimney rose up from the building's boiler room, but it's unclear what caused the initial explosion. The U.S. has plunged into a new cycle of uncertainty tonight. The government shut down at midnight after a deadlocked Congress failed to strike a deal to fund federal programs and services. Republicans and Democrats are in a standoff over health care spending, with both sides blaming each other for the funding gap. Jackson Prosco reports on the bitter partisan divide and how long it could drag on.
The first signs of a government shutdown appeared outside the very building where lawmakers remain deadlocked. Tens of thousands of federal workers are immediately furloughed. Thousands more will be off the job each day the shutdown lasts.
I am the primary breadwinner of my household, so we will be tightening belts.
Essential employees, including military, air traffic control, border security, and airport security, will keep working, but without pay.
That is the reality of the government shutdown that Chuck Schumer and the Democrats have foisted upon the administration.
It's now a question of who blinks first, with Democrats and Republicans playing the blame game, as President Donald Trump threatens to use the shutdown to carry out permanent mass layoffs.
We can do things during the shutdown that are irreversible, that are bad for them and irreversible by them, like cutting vast numbers of people out.
The partisan divide grew deeper after Trump went all in on false accusations that Democrats want free health care for undocumented immigrants, sharing this racist AI-generated video that included a fake speech from the Democratic Senate leader.
They have so many right-wingers in their caucus who don't want to do anything that they come up with these lies to divert attention.
The last government shutdown happened in 2018 during Trump's first term. It dragged on for 35 days, forcing some unpaid federal workers to take out loans to pay their bills. This time, it's not clear what could bring the two sides together to reopen the government. Many federal agencies are preparing for this to drag on indefinitely, and even some essential services like airport security could start to be impacted if workers begin to phone in sick en masse, as they did during the last shutdown. Neetu?
Okay, Jackson Prosco in Washington. Thanks, Jackson. Trump wants to charge companies big bucks to hire foreign workers. Coming up, how Canada could benefit from the move. President Donald Trump's move to hike the cost of America's most popular skilled worker visa has sent shockwaves through the tech industry. The price of an H-1B application has jumped to $100,000, a change expected to push talented workers away from the U.S. and possibly north of the border. As David Eby explains, the move already has some of the students at one of Canada's top talent pipelines rethinking their future.
That was a pretty good interview.
For decades, the University of Waterloo has been churning out the kind of engineering talent the world's top technology companies have been eager to hire.
Since 1996, when Bill Gates came here in the middle of winter to recruit students, I would argue we graduate the top talent in STEM, and in particular in engineering.
Big tech firms like Microsoft, Google, and Amazon might be able to afford the $100,000 H-1B visa fee to bring a Canadian to Silicon Valley, but that is too steep for many startups, which opens a path for Canadian firms to compete for Waterloo's talent.
Having the opportunity of having world-class talent available to these companies as they raise venture capital and scale their companies would be a benefit for everyone.
In most years, as many as 1 in 10 Waterloo graduates will end up taking a job outside the country, most often in the U.S. Moulay Mao is just back from an internship at Amazon in Seattle.
I enjoyed my time there, but now I'm, second guessing whether or not I would like to move there.
Others are also thinking about how a decision by the United States president might influence their career path.
It really just makes me hesitant to consider working in the U.S. Makes me want to explore opportunities in other countries outside of the U.S. and definitely looking at Canada.
Recent grads are not, will not be in a position to be able to justify that $100K upfront that the visa is going to require.
Trump's assault on academic freedom at U.S. universities is also a factor for some students.
There is quite a bit of uncertainty right now, especially with this new visa thing, but also politically.
And for some university administrators who may be looking to poach research talent.
Let's have Canada dare to be great and create opportunities for these highly ambitious, talented people to come to this country.
Prime Minister Mark Carney has said that this all adds up to a great opportunity for Canada. But how does his government plan to take advantage of that? Well, that is TBD on the H-1B. Neither.
David Aiken in Ottawa. Thanks, David. Synthetic star ahead, how this AI actress is stirring up real-life drama in Hollywood. A Connecticut woman has spun her way into the Wheel of Fortune record books.
Pack of coyotes.
Christina Derevyanek is now just the 5th person ever to be awarded the show's $1 million prize. She also won trips to Montana and Tokyo, valued at about $35,000, making her the biggest winner in the show's 42-year history. Hollywood is hesitating to roll out the red carpet for a new kind of actor. Tilly Norwood is an AI-generated actress. The company that created her is hoping to make her a star. As Mike Armstrong reports, that plan is sparking backlash across the film industry, including here in Canada.
They're calling her synthetic talent, an actress with social media, but no actual past.
Let's get to know each other, and thanks for watching.
Well, there isn't actually much to get to know about Tilly Norwood. She doesn't exist except on screen.
Tilly Norwood, 100% AI generated.
Now, this is the video the company used to announce its new character. Worth noting, all of the other people in the video are AI as well. But it's Tilly. The production company says it wants to turn into the next Scarlett Johansson or Natalie Portman, someone it would hire out for performances or appearances, virtual appearances. Hollywood actors have been pushing back since Tilly was unveiled. One called it scary. Another said there should be a boycott of any agency that uses AI characters.
My genes are binary.
We've known Tilly's coming for a long time, Michael.
Marie Kelly is the executive director of ACTRA, the Canadian Union for Professional Actors. She says they're basically the canary in the coal mine. Artificial intelligence can collect and learn from performances online, scraping as it's called, and uses that material to generate characters.
With Tilly's of the world coming, our government needs to move and move quickly in order to give moral rights to performers to protect against this theft of their work.
The head of the company that created Tilly responded to the negative reaction this week. She says Tilly's not a replacement for a human being, but a creative work, a piece of art.
Is it about making money? Is it about making movies? Or is it about more than that?
Well, this AI ethicist says using synthetic actors takes away from the craft. But he also says governments and companies don't have a choice but to prepare for it.
It's not about whether it can replace actors, or it's more about whether we want it to replace actors.
Because it can.
I think so, yes.
Mike Armstrong, Global News, Montreal.
Promoting environmental protection to the end. Next, the life and legacy of Jane Goodall. Renowned primatologist and conservationist Jane Goodall has died at the age of 91. The institute she founded says she died of natural causes while in California on a speaking tour. It was 65 years ago that Goodall first traveled from England to what is now Tanzania to live among chimpanzees. As Eric Sorensen reports, her observations allowed humans to see through their eyes and grasp the toll of our modern lives on the beings that share our planet.
My dream began when I was 10. I found this little book of Tarzan of the apes.
Many first learned about chimpanzees from Tarzan, but it was Jane Goodall who would go to the shores of Lake Tanganyika in Africa, live with chimpanzees, and begin teaching the world about animal behavior.
But I learned by being out in nature, so that you can learn to understand who animals are, not just about them.
Goodall taught us how chimps said hello. She learned how they organized themselves, raised their young, and worked together to survive, and why it should matter to humans.
What we do to animals, from their perspective certainly, and probably from ours, is morally wrong and unacceptable.
It was groundbreaking research that raised awareness at a time when animals were treated cruelly, sometimes for medical research.
2-year-old infant chimpanzees just snatched from their mothers were confined in cages that measured 22 inches.
She founded the Jane Goodall Institute to promote a more compassionate world. She saw that humans, animals, and our environment were all in this together. Her voice was quiet, but what she said rang out for more than 60 years.
Don't we owe it to our children? What are we doing destroying their future like this? We're all interconnected and we depend on the natural resources of this planet, and they're not infinite. And we're using them up as though they'll go on forever.
It seemed like Jane Goodall would go on forever. She won too many awards to count. This week, at 91, she was on a speaking tour in California, still teaching that we, humans, have important choices to make if we are to protect the planet and all its species.
Even in her final days, her mission never wavered. That is Global National for this Wednesday. I'm Neetu Garcha. Tonight's Your Canada showcases Saskatoon, Edmonton, and Sunnyside, Newfoundland and Labrador. Thanks for watching and hope to see you here again tomorrow. Have a great night.